All right, and we're going. So what we're going to do today is review a presentation Andrew and I presented and give some deeper thoughts into the things that we spoke about. So it's in the context of training and training athletes. So the first thing that I talked about was knowledge creation. So I think that's a good start. And so what is knowledge? Um, so the note what I prepared was that knowledge is not a product of experience, nor is it a derivative of anything. Human capacity to reason is central to the creation of knowledge, meaning that whatever is presented to you, you don't just blindly accept it. Like if someone who is a doctor or is a expert, apparently, right? It says something, you don't just accept it because it came from them. You accept it because internally you scrutinized the information and it passed your internal reasoning. And because of your assessment of that information that was presented, then it becomes knowledge.
So I want to talk a little bit about that too, because you could be on the side of questioning too much to where nothing actually makes any sense. So there's two sides to this because yes, you should be questioning everything, but then we don't want to be at a place where we're questioning to the point where nothing is actually true.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I think there's a lot of that in like the physical training world, especially when you get all the way down one system and maybe you have like a deep core belief, but maybe you didn't even scrutinize that information. Maybe it just came to you and then everything else is bad and yours is good.
Right. And like think about it. If one system is right, that means every other system is wrong. And the truth is that there's no single system that doesn't produce results. Because if we're seeing results from traditional weight training, and then all of a sudden all these new programs come out that say that traditional weight training is all of a sudden ineffective when it's produced a lot of results, that's where I find that the people who do hate on this alt fitness are valid.
Yeah. And I think that's like we could I have some more notes on knowledge we could come back to, but I think after that it's a good time to talk about like what we were talking about before the show, which is kind of goals of training that we have personally, like our beliefs on that. You have a interesting perspective, and like what I was saying is just the principles we're going to present in this podcast and that we presented during the presentation for me is like just focused on physical training, physical capacity, general, preparation in terms of building a stronger body that's capable of handling the inputs of the sport and then actually making you be able to, you know, perform better.
Right. And my perspective on training is simply on a subconscious level. I don't look specifically at the things that are being done, but I look at like the effect on the mental of the athlete of what's actually happening. So in training, I believe that a coach's job is to instill confidence within the athlete to the point where when they get onto the field, they're not thinking. So the environment gets created in the training scenario to where the athlete could step on any field, any situation, and have that confidence.
And then in order to have that like true trust, that true confidence, you have to first the first step is like what I was talking about, right? And then once you understand that, then you can go deeper like how you're talking about. So it's really a balance of both.
Right. And I think something too, especially when we look at like WEC method, when we look at GOTA, when we look at functional patterns, I think if we're going to break it down to what the specific goal of that type of training is, it's creating balance in the body. And I'd say even with the Marinovic system, because when we
Yep.
saw Marinovic go through the what was it called the
Athletic
protocol,
assessment.
yeah, the assessments, like everything was a score based on the other side.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's assessing both sides. Yeah. 100%. Which
Yeah.
that assessment is really good. And I like that assessment too. You know why I like the Marinovich athletic assessment is because it doesn't require force plates. It doesn't require a vert tech. It doesn't require an expensive, timing gates. It doesn't require any of that. It's just a simple body weight assessment to see how you're moving and how different, body parts are where they're at in terms of, strength or power, speed, whatever it is that they're with the different tests that there are.
I will say though, the limitations that come with that type of assessment is that it varies from coach to coach.
Yeah. But yeah, well, that's if, yeah, definitely. But that's what Brian talks about a lot though, is like not anybody is really qualified to give that assessment unless you've worked closely with Gary
Right.
or with Brian or with, one of the other, elite Marinovich guys. Like if I spent a month with Brian and just assessed all of his athletes under his supervision, I would say that I'm fully confident and that my scores are accurate relative to what they say it should be. You know what I mean? Because I run through the assessment. That doesn't mean that, it's the same scoring system that Brian would give to the same guy. But
Yeah, and I mean, when I say that it's pretty limited in the sense of of like what the actual score is, I'm talking about in the sense of like if you get a 4 versus a 3, or it's 3, right? Three is
four is the
four.
highest.
Okay, so I believe it's very easy. Like anybody can kind of understand side to side if it's the same or different. But now I'm talking about like giving the 3 versus the 4.
Yeah.
But another thing too is like once you see the athlete move and once you see them do the actual system, that's a pretty good indication to where they are as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, 100%. All right. So real quick before we move on to the next part, just some simple quotes that I think would be good to say and then give our opinions on. So the first one, look at everything you're 100% certain of and question it. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the vast majority, it's time to pause and reflect.
Couldn't be more right. Couldn't be more right, especially on the second one. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, that's the side of comfort. And most times, when you're in a place of comfort, you're not actually growing. You're not challenging yourself to explore other means. And so that one is extremely powerful.
And then the next one, well, there's two more. One of them, limit your knowledge, limit your ability. If you limit your knowledge, you limit your abilities. If you limit your abilities, you limit the development of your athletes. And what's your job? To develop your athletes. And that applies to anybody, right? That doesn't just apply to people training athletes.
I love that.
So
But
then
there's also a dark side to that, right?
what's the dark side?
You can know too much. And see, there is a type of person.
I don't think you can know. I don't. Well, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hear me out on this. There's a type of person that gains an ego from the amount of knowledge they have. So
Yeah.
there's some people that the less they know, the better they're able to do. Like in the case of Brian, I'm not saying he doesn't know a lot, but remember what he said. I only really know this program very, very well.
Yeah.
And
Specialist.
right. And so that doesn't mean that he's limited in knowledge. It means that he's purposely limited himself to other things in order to be very good at this one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I mean, that still could apply to his like profile, like anyone that's similar to him, right? Because he didn't limit his knowledge or ability within that system. You know what I mean? He went all the way in. Because like
Right.
you could say me, or you could say other individuals that are using the system, like that our knowledge is somewhat limited in that. But I don't know. It's just a quote, which I think is a good quote, more so for people that are not taking the time to continue their education. And so that leads to the next one, which is it's the constant pursuit of knowledge and getting better that separates the greats from average. Pretty good
Look,
quote.
I mean, they talk about it in every single wealth building book out there, every single wealth building thing. If you're not learning, the day you stop learning is the day you die. And building wealth and becoming a great coach, I believe have a lot of parallels. Business, business and coaching have a ton of parallels. I mean, it is a business, but in the end of the day, we're not looking at, well, I mean, you specifically, because I'm not coaching anybody at the moment, but when you're looking to coach, you're not looking at the dollar amount of the athlete. You're looking at getting that athlete better. So it's like in every single pursuit in life, in order to increase your level of effectiveness, you got to continue learning.
For sure. And all right, so moving on, the first like actual training principle that I think is important for coaches to understand is just simply just the energy systems, bioenergetic systems of the human body. So anaerobic systems, first one we can review is the alactic power, which is the short burst, long recovery, the shortest bursts when it comes to looking at the different energy systems. So between the ranges of 6 to 15 seconds of work with a full recovery. So that could be something like 2 to 5 minutes. The alactic ceases to exist when the athlete ceases to accelerate and reaches max velocity. When the move slows down, the alactic is over.
Yeah, so I have a lot. I mean, as a sprinter in swimming, we used to do this thing where we would connect ourselves to buckets of water, and those buckets only went to a certain amount, like a certain place of the pool. You couldn't do the full lap with it. So when you had those buckets, this was essentially an alactic set because you were just trying to get that full burst with a ton of resistance and then finish. And then as soon as you finish, you just let that thing pull you in. And
Hmm.
so everybody needs, like, even if you're a distance person, you need that power. You're not going to be effective if your top end speed isn't where it could where it can be.
Yeah. And then a quote for like the quote that fits well with that is the defining ability of locomotive dominance is not who can sustain aerobic velocities longest, rather who can sustain the highest percentage of max V throughout. So faster you are, the better,
Wait, say
essentially.
that quote by Charlie Francis, because that's a great quote.
That is a good quote, yeah. Uh, having players, yeah, so Charlie Francis quote, having players who can't touch the rim isn't very helpful, no matter how many times they can't touch it. Which is like so true, bro. Because that gets into. I normally use that quote when we start talking about like excessive lactic work, like unnecessary lactic work. So like nobody cares how long you can run slow sprints for, right? Like
Right.
if you're a I don't know, baseball player running poles. Like no, it doesn't matter how many poles you can run. It matters how fast you can get to first when it's an infield, ground ball, and it's a split second decision to whether, you're going to be out or whether you're going to be safe. It simply comes
100%.
down to speed.
Less springy, less fast equals slow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, you like the notes there?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, and then I guess we could do the other one. I mean, this is true. When it comes in this again, it's like more considering like unnecessary lactic work versus, alactic speed development. But it's that excessive lactic workloads damage skeletal muscle mitochondria, right? So, which is basically what that means is excessive lactic workloads makes you slower, right? So damages the type 2, fast twitch muscle fiber.
So what would you like in your the way you're training your athletes, if you were to give them a set, give me an example or give the people
Yeah,
an
so,
example.
well, a lot of times, so like it's kind of tricky, right? Like whenever we were giving the presentation, I made a quick like note that you have to be very involved as a coach to really do, performance training. Um, so with that being said, some of it'll be eyeballs to where I'm watching the drill and it's not a set rep or a set time. I'll have like a mental clock, like you're pretty much not ever going to go over 15 seconds. But you watch and you see is the guy like say we're doing like a hurdle footwork drill or a cone footwork drill or something like that, and I see the speed slow down, that's when I'll just go ahead and cut it off.
Or what about the heel? Like, is that something, if you see the heel touch the floor, do you, or
Yeah, I'll
is
cut
that
it.
something you look at?
Especially if like the first, I don't know, say it was 12 reps and the first like 10 reps were, or the first 9 or 8 reps were perfect, right? There
Mhm.
wasn't like a big collapse. And then by the time we get to rep 9 or 10, it starts, they're not able to reverse the move, then yeah, cut it. It's less important that you do all 12 reps than it is to do the reps perfectly.
Mm. So
That was
now
actually
that
working
brings
on
me
that
to another
today.
question.
I was saying that today to somebody because we were doing like this pretty cool drill where we were putting bands around our hips, so like a band attached to the squat rack and then the bands around the hip. And we were doing like a single leg jump basically. So like you would jump out into a lunge, land on the toes, and then you would elevate and the band would pull you back and you have to stick coming back on the toes.
Mm.
So that could be detrimental to the Achilles, right? You could imagine a band pulling you backward and you're trying to stick on the toe.
Yeah.
And so I was telling the guys, like, it's not about how far you can jump out. It's about whenever you get pulled back, are you able to stick, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was like, that's just the point is like, it's not about getting far out, or sometimes it's not about doing it as fast as you can. You know what I mean? Especially for younger guys. You got to be able to show me that you can do the drill perfectly before you add the speed, or before you add the distance on the jump, or before you add the resistance. You know what I mean? Or
That's a genius drill.
before you turn the box up to the next height. What'd you say?
That's a genius drill, bro. Like
Oh, bro.
like as soon as you said that, I was like, wait a second. Every single Achilles tear comes on that stutter step
Yeah.
back
I'll send
leg.
you I'll send you a video of us doing it. I'm probably gonna post it. It was a really good drill.
Yeah, that's sick.
But we do it all the time as like a warm up, like a front foot elevated. So we'll go
Yeah.
front foot elevated on a box and we'll hit like boom, 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 boom,
Um,
boom. And like, yeah, so like little stutter steps back and then
yeah.
go. Yeah, I did have like a whole workout today. I did it myself too. I was thinking about for the caption, the Achilles maxing.
Yeah, but that's actually really cool. And another thing that I wanted to ask you that came into my mind, if an athlete is predominantly flat-footed, like you see that they're not getting on their toes, what's your protocol there? Like, are you trying to get them on their toes, or are you trying to maximize
No,
the way that they
ground
use the
ground
front?
contact time.
Okay.
Ground contact. So you can see it, like you can see it because like some people strike here, like
Yeah.
this is the ground. Some people strike here, but when
Yeah.
they hit, it's still there. You know
Okay.
what I mean? But some people will strike here and then they'll go boom boom, and so
Mm.
that's not. I don't like that. But if you're striking here and then getting off, then it's different. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see that. So
And so yeah,
you're
like some
mostly
people.
looking at this to this rather than if it's here or here.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. Because like the heel will still be off the ground. Like most like especially if we're talking about like repeat jumps or any kind of jumping drill. Like even if you're relatively flat footed, like the heel's still gonna be up. It just won't be as much. It'll be like that. You
Mm.
know what I mean? But there will be like with flat footed people, there's often like very little give,
Yeah.
which is really good. Like I mean, I've heard multiple people say that like the fast people they know are flat footed. I
Yeah.
think there's something to that. Maybe the connective tissues are lengthened and strengthened more. I don't know. I'd have to look into that or ask somebody like David Weck.
So I was reading I'm not sure if this is true, but I was reading about people that have high arches, they end up having knee pain. And that the people
Interesting.
that have flat feet are faster but have back pain.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I read that right, but I'll
No, I mean, I think there's something to it. I think also you got to look at like what type of individual you're talking about when we're talking about arches and flat feet, like specifically the flat feet, because there could be a guy who's like out of shape
Hmm.
and flat footed, and so he's got like the oh my God, I can't think of the term here. What is this?
Duck.
Duck?
Duck
No, no,
feet.
no, but like the actual the right terminology. It's anyways, but and then like the ankles are you know what I mean, and they're just like they don't have strong feet. But then there's a guy who's like a
Oh,
run.
the valgus something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, something like that. I mean, not valgus is at the nib. I'm talking about just at the ankle, but it doesn't matter. Like just duck footed, ankles collapsed, not strong feet, versus duck foot, foot pointed out, ankles not collapsed, running back, starter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a big difference in those two flat feet people.
Yeah, yeah, that's the truth.
One could actually have strong arches, but he's just so weak and his feet are so weak that, you know, it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that always interests me, especially once I learned Goda.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, because like there is people that are like I said, good athletes, but flat-footed. So like what are they gonna try to do to that guy? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
They might end up ruining him by trying to fix his foot position. Well, quote unquote, fix his foot position.
Yeah, yeah. Send him to whack. What's
All
the
right.
45-degree stance called?
I think it's that.
Oh, there's a 45-degree. Yeah, you're right. Actually, I think that's what it's called. All right, all right, all right. Do you want to go through the rest of the energy systems? It's gonna take a while.
I mean, we could briefly touch on each of them, like the alactic capacity.
Alactic
What it means.
capacity is so you have power and capacity within the alactic and within the lactic, right? So if we're talking about alactic power, it's what I just described, short burst, long rest. Now, to build capacity within that, you would do, you know, essentially a one-to-one work rest ratio within the short work time. So 10 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest, 6 rounds, right? Something like that. Then take the full recovery. And you could progress that, right? So like if you just are coming off of a power, block, then maybe you progress the actual, sets. Like I always use the bike because the bike is super easy, right? If you come off of doing, 10-second bike sprint, long rest, and then you do 10-second sprint, 10-second rest, 10-second sprint, 10-second rest. All right, you did it twice, right? You're not fatigued. You're not having a lactic buildup. All right, now 3 times, now 4 times, now 5 times. So it's just building capacity within the short bursts. Uh, you want to say anything
100%.
about
I
that?
think, well, one thing that I will say, I think it's sport dependent because if we're talking about football, then I do believe that that 10 seconds is applicable. But if we're talking about swimming, for example, that the shortest race won't it won't be 10 seconds, you know?
What is the shortest race?
The shortest race is the 50 free, and the world record for that is 20 seconds. So we're
Yeah,
looking
so
at an
that's
average
lactic
of,
power, right? So yeah, yeah. So that would fit under the lactic power, you know, bioenergetic system. These are just bioenergetic
okay.
systems of the human body. Like this isn't like debatable. How you use it before sport, like for the sport, is, that's the part where you get to apply the information. But like
So,
a 100-meter sprinter is alactic power. You know what I mean?
okay. So wait, just so I
50,
understand, just so I
50,
understand.
50 free is lactic power, right?
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, I understand now.
Yeah. So yeah, lactic power, 20 to 30 seconds of work with a full recovery, three to, however long you need, 3 to 10 minutes. And then lactic capacity is building the capacity within that range. So 20 to 30 second work, 20 to 30 second rest. There's different ways you could do it, but that's just an example that I have wrote down for sets and series. Then you got your
So,
aerobic.
so just so I'm like 100% clear, as I'm reading here, we must perform the move is at 100% effort, as explosive as possible.
Yeah.
So, is it physiologically possible to be going all out completely for those 20 to 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't
Okay.
mean that you're going to be at a true full speed, but you're at full effort. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So effort and top end speed are different. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, yeah, 100%. Because, like, I always go back to fighters, like a fighter is going to be able to throw that, like, jab cross in the first round
Right.
really good. But then by the fifth round, you know, it may be a little bit slower. And that's just due simply to we're looking at different energy systems at that stage.
And guys, something that I really want to iterate here is that Brett is a true student of the game. Like when it comes to training and when it comes to the body, I don't think there's a lot of people out there that truly know more than this guy. Like he has gone so deep in the science of training that I even get impressed when he starts like throwing out knowledge. Like I'm someone who I consider myself to know a lot about the body, not necessarily about training, but about the body. But this guy really blows me away whenever he starts getting into it.
I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that. There's a lot of people that I would like to learn from better than I.
Yeah, but I mean, look, dog, like there's not a lot of like the people that you're looking up to
Yeah.
are a select few.
Yeah, definitely.
And then when we put you in a category, I'd say you're like if we're talking the top people, you're like literally right here. You know what I mean? Like you're like a little bit under them. Like it's not that much of a difference because like the amount of knowledge that you've encompassed, like when it comes to energetics, like how many of those top coaches can you truly say are talking about energetics as well, you know?
Yeah. There's a whole other branch of it for sure. That's something I'm very interested in is like how to bring in all the branches together to create the ultimate program. Like I was talking to a lady at Belfast, and I was just talking about how if I was to go study something in college, like I would want to do like neuroscience or
Hmm,
human biology. Like
that's
I
really
wouldn't
cool.
want to go there and do like a kinesiology or exercise science or something like that. Like I'd want to go into a different aspect to complete the exercise science. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like neuroscience or human biology.
I will say if you if you studied biomechanics in college, it would piss you off.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. All right. You want to talk about the ground contact and
yeah, let's talk
how
a little bit about ground contact.
training,
So,
training
the first
stimulates?
thing that I want to ask you about the ground contact. What we did talk a little bit about what we're looking for, what you're looking for in the ground contact. But what is the one thing that you try to get your athletes to do if you don't see something you like?
Uh, I mean, I guess it depends on what it is that I don't like. Like, I would say the most common thing that I see that I don't like is the collapsing ankles during the input.
Okay.
So cueing that, just yeah, just cueing it really. One thing that helps is showing them videos. So like I'll take a
Mm.
video because different people, need to see it, right? So like if I keep cueing it and I'm going over there and physically like moving your feet and showing you and then it still doesn't work, like I'll take a video and show you the video and then a lot of times that'll help. That's a common one is like just the as soon as you hit, because we were talking about, hitting and coming down. Like th that could like almost be fine if you're coming down and it looks good, but some people come down and it's like boom. You
Yeah.
see what I mean? And it shoots in and the foot turns out and everything is it just going bad at that point. So that's a common one, especially when you don't have the actual foot strength. It's like you can't even control the way the foot what it does whenever it takes that input because you don't have the either the physical capacity or like the mental connection.
So something that's interesting to me now, not right now as in this moment, but something that's interesting to me like as of recent is you remember when we were doing that analysis with WEC and we were watching the guy Kipchoge, is that what his name is? The
Yeah,
marathon runner that
yeah.
completely like it looks
Yeah.
like a full collapse ankle. So where do we draw the line between that's someone's biomechanical advantage versus that's not an advantage?
I look at the joint angle
Mm,
at the ankle and then also at the knee, and even at the hip. So if it's like super out of whack, then that's not going to be a natural, physical attribute. That's just going to be a problem, like an injury waiting to happen.
so you're saying that if we're seeing too much, for example, external rotation in the hip and not enough external to internal,
Right. Yeah, and then like a common one is like just the knee valgus. Like that's just not a structurally a strong pattern in my opinion. I mean, that's at least how I coach it. I
right?
wouldn't see someone doing a knee valgus during a repeat jump or during whatever drill it is and say, oh, okay, that's good because that's your natural, biomechanical, pattern.
Yeah.
I would try to align that joint angle.
Okay, so I want you to talk a little bit about the eccentric, concentric, and amortization phase because to me, I do my training alone. So I haven't had somebody help me out. And when you pushed me down on that stage, bro,
Springy.
bro, I've never moved like that.
Yeah.
And like what would you say like okay, so you're training me and then you see that like what is your neck like what is your thought there? Because I don't really know. I just do my own training and I mess around.
My thought in terms of like, in terms of what? Like if I was seeing that you were able to do it, I would be like, well, my thought would be, all right, well, let's do it on a higher box before we run out of reps here.
Okay. Okay. And like but in terms of like ability, like would you say because to me that looked fast.
Yeah, yeah, it did. It did. I don't fully yeah, it looked pretty fast. I watched it back. Yeah, like I said, if you're reversing it that quick, then I would say to and also one thing too, like when you do it the first time, it's like the vest. It's like when you put the vest on. Uh, you know, you have to feel it, and then whenever no one's pushing you down or whenever the vest comes off, the same thing actually happens. So it's almost more neurological than physical.
Yeah, because I didn't even I truth be told, I didn't really feel like I was putting any type of effort. Like I
Yeah, just
like
straight
the first jumps
recoil.
that I was doing looked very lazy. And then all of a sudden you're pushing down and it's like,
If you would have did another set, if we would have did a proper set to where maybe we did two sets of 10 jumps where I'm pushing you, and then whenever I stop pushing you and you do it, it would be at the same speed. It would actually probably be faster.
wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I always, because I always wondered when I was getting coached, I wasn't getting any of this type of coaching, and I've been with very high level coaches. 'Cause I mean, I got to a very high level when it came to athletics, but we weren't doing any of this stuff.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Yeah, me too.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's just the next thing. Um yeah, yeah. So the amortization phase is just the period between the eccentric to concentric.
Okay.
Eccentric on the way down, concentric on the way up. The amortization phase is like the time frame that you watch to make sure that the reversal time. That's
So
the
is that the point one or the point one
yeah.
five?
So like the different time frames that we're looking at here in our notes are just like what happens within ground contact in terms of what you're training in the body. So if we're looking at like, and there's different reasons. Like I may want a slower ground contact for more power, but I
Hmm.
may want a slower ground contact for training connective tissue. See what I mean? So after a point two, you're pretty much looking at muscle-based jumping. You're loading through the quads, you're taking your time, you're getting into the glutes, the hamstrings, right? Um, but if we're talking about like what we were talking about, where you're getting off the ground freakishly fast, that's all connective tissue. The muscle is operating in an isometric because
Okay.
there's no give. There's no loading the knees and the hips. There's no ankle coming down. It's just hit and get off. So the
Yeah.
muscle, if you watch the film, like you're not like squatting. You're just hitting in an ISO. You're just hitting in an isometric, and the connective tissue recoil is just sending you up.
Like I'm reading here, stiff yet responsive.
Correct. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's the whole key right there,
Yeah. That's really cool. I mean, like shit, I've never felt that.
bro. You gotta, bro. The vest.
Yeah.
The vest is key. David
So
Weck.
let's get into the next part of this though, because it all comes down to the bare foot and what it means to actually know how to use the foot in training, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's super important. Barefoot. I think is like a curriculum on its own. You know what I mean? I think it deserves its own time to speak about it. Um, yeah, in terms of, proprioception, foot strike, alignment, posture, being barefoot, helps with all those things.
So
I think the
let me interject here right quick because when we look at the foot and when we look at the fingers specifically, that's where some of the most neurological sensors exist in the body.
yeah,
So just getting those stronger will make your nervous system stronger.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I mean that's what I was saying in the actually in the presentation is like all the repeat jumping and the the twitching and the bah, 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 like the fast stuff and the fast feet and the agility drills and whatnot, the barefoot, like why does all of that make our lifts go up? Like why are we continuing to improve when we're not powerlifting only? Like you would think if you want to get stronger on the weights, you would just lift more weights. But there's a lot of other things. And what I think it comes down to is it's enhancing neuromuscular efficiency or
Right.
motor unit recruitment. So whenever I go to lift a heavy deadlift or the heavy squat, I know how to coordinate everything together to actually perform the
I mean,
exercise.
one of the biggest examples of these is looking at rock climbers and their pulling ability.
Bro, rock
Insane.
climbing is one of the most impressive things ever, and I'm addicted to it. I love going rock climbing, bro. I swear, dude, it's like oh man, it's so fun. It's so fun and it's so good for you, bro.
So challenging on the mental too, because you have to coordinate patterns and you have to be thinking about, okay, I need my foot here so that I could grab this one. And I mean, I'm not an expert, but I'm just going off of what I've seen.
Yeah, bro, we gotta go, dude. Whenever you come to Jacksonville, we're gonna go rock climbing.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I probably won't be as good as you, but
Nah, I mean, I've been doing it for a couple of months straight, bro. Like I try to go once a week. Sometimes I'm
okay.
not able to, but I've been going once a week pretty consistently.
I've been once in my life.
Yeah, you'd be all right, dog. You'd be all right. It is, I will say, it's a very specific type of strength. And so is all of this, like the jumping strength and the foot strength and all that. Like you have to train it directly to get good at it. You know what I mean? You can have a base coming in that really helps. Like back to rock climbing, like, when I first started, I was already pretty decent, but I didn't get good until I actually did the actual thing. So like you may come in and have really strong feet from being a football player, but once you start actually training the feet, then they get better. They get stronger. They get specifically adapted to the training stimulus.
So a question that I have now, because the next section is jump training. What's the difference between jump being a really good jumper versus being very good at running? Or and do they correlate?
Yeah, they definitely correlate in terms of, I mean, that's kind of the whole purpose, like ground contact time, and then like the trying to, jumping down to mimic the more eccentric force, more relative to the impact of like a max velocity. When the
Mhm.
impact is very high, that's why you would jump down off the box to create a higher impact or push someone down, to create more of that force. And that's what I would say. Um,
So would you say a fast athlete
but
makes a
their
better
skills though,
jumper?
that's what I was gonna say is like they're different because their skills, like a sprinter,
Okay.
like you could be jumping, you could have been jumping your whole life and you can repeat jump 60 inch, 50 inch, 40-inch box, but that doesn't mean that you have proper, sprinting form or experience.
Okay. So now a question that I have is, does being a good jumper make you a better runner, or does being a better runner make you a better jumper?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. So okay, here this is really interesting here because I want you to go into the foot strength slash what type of things because bro, I've never seen crazier feet than yours. So so let's let's be honest. If we can, one of these days, I definitely want to put on the podcast Brett grabbing a tennis ball with his foot and throwing it. And it literally looked like it went like this. His foot literally looked like it went back and through.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I don't know. I'm blessed with long toes. Like
Yeah,
definitely all
you
the
could have long
strengthening.
toes all day, but they're not grabbing like that. They're not freaking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, without the training, it wouldn't be able to do what they're doing. But like, if you do all the training and you have short toes, like you'll never be able to throw a ball like you saw me doing or grab really something with your feet. But but yeah, dude, like yeah, some people have really short toes, you know.
I do.
Yeah, and I got really long toes. Like I got my mom used to always tell me as a kid, she would call them tingers. She'd say you got tingers, like finger
Yeah,
toes.
my toes look my I have wide feet, but I don't have long toes.
I got pretty good spacing.
Yeah, yeah. Your feet look like hands, bro.
You
Like
know what
they're
I would really attribute the spacing to is like pipes.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
the pipes, and then also just being barefoot, but the shape of the pipe like makes your toes space out and then engage, which is like the whole purpose of the pipe is to, you know, squeeze it and engage and whatnot.
So then
So
all of this goes under the form of nervous system training, right?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Nervous system training. I think that nervous system training is just putting an emphasis on the neurological system. So, you know, I don't think I think a lot of people put an emphasis on the musculoskeletal system, but a lot of people don't think about the brain. That's why I was talking about like neuroscience would be so interesting to study and get more more knowledge when it comes to what we're actually doing with the brain in terms of the training.
I think it's a rewiring of the subconscious because if you're
Yeah.
able, I mean, it really is like, especially when you talk to, like when I always refer to back to Brian on this because I mean, Brian, Lionel, Quentin, they're
Yeah.
all people that we've been able to have conversations with. And the biggest thing that they talk about is what's going on in the athlete's brain that allows them to do these things. And so, truth be told, I think this training more so than anything is a rewiring of the subconscious.
Yeah. Yeah, and like yeah, nervous system train. I feel like it's coined. I feel like it's kind of coined by the Marinovich training system. And their whole deal is, you know, speed of the sport or faster. So in terms of thinking about the brain and the inputs you're giving the brain, it's that, you know, you give it inputs that are relative to the speed of the game. So like I think a lot of the nervous system is about speed. It's about, you know, neuromuscular efficiency. And really I think that's the key is the actual speed of the move.
Yeah.
Like not doing something that is like that is that's a long pause, but just too slow. It's just too slow. Like it's gotta be fast. So the three training requirements are the technique must allow for performing the move with extreme velocity. The exercise must be mastered so well that the athlete can focus solely on the velocity rather than the form, and the velocity of the move must not diminish during the set due to fatigue.
Yeah. I agree mostly with one and two because number three, I do think that there is times where getting to that second gear is important just to make sure that the athlete has like that grit within them. But one and two are super important because if you have to think about your technique, if you have to think about anything for that matter, you've already lost.
Yeah, apart from like yeah, exactly. Apart from like the added stuff within the drill. It's like if we're doing like a hurdle footwork drill, and maybe we're doing like throwing a ball at you and giving numbers, you know, or like maybe we have like lights going on and you have to like say the color of the light or say the number on the hand or catch the ball. Like you have to think about that, which that plays into the whole nervous system deal, like putting all the stress on the brain so you can increase your reaction and your decision making.
But I mean more so with the feet, like because in the end of the day, if you can't do any of those things if you're thinking about your foot hitting.
No, yeah, you gotta be locked. You gotta have the exactly. That's why step one is the technique of the move must allow. You want to move to the strength training department?
Yeah, let's make that one quick because I do want to get to the addressing weaknesses versus maximizing potential.
Let's just go to that. We'll
Okay.
just say the only thing I'll say about strength training instead of giving the yeah, we got to be quick with this one here. But the in terms of the podcast, we got to be pretty quick tonight. But all I would say with in terms of strength training is that the effects of heavy lifting last 30 days in trained athletes, meaning you don't have to touch a super heavy weight every single day. Okay, so addressing weakness versus maximizing potential.
Well, I do want to say something about that real quick though. I think the better the athlete, the more that effect lasts. So like for example, there's some people who can't recruit that
Yeah,
level of like the motor recruitment. So it might not last the 30 days for them, but there's some people like I could very confidently say you're on that level to where you can truly put 100% into something.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's something. Remember whenever we talked to Cliff a long time ago and we were talking about these things? He was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, but like people aren't able to give that, so they don't get the value. Like if we go back to the lactate power, like they can't put out enough in 8 seconds to get a valuable training stimulus from it. Like these are athletic training principles, you know what I mean? Which can
Right.
be applied to normal people, but given that they went through a general preparation phase and actually can, have the awareness to give that true max effort.
And giving max effort really is not, it's not, it really does, is not what it seems. Like you think you're trying hard, but a true 100%, like you're close to passing out when you finish. Like the human body just really can't go more. Like, and it really does take an elite athlete to get to those levels.
Yeah, definitely. All right, you want to talk about the addressing weakness versus maximizing potential? It's definitely a mix of both, but like, yeah, go ahead. And you want to talk about that first?
Yeah, so when we're talking about training, there's two things to think about. You're addressing weaknesses the entire time during training because if you're not addressing the weaknesses, then you're not getting the athlete to his full potential. But at the same time, there is a fine line between trying to make the athlete as well-rounded as possible versus making him the best athlete possible. So you could go down the rabbit hole of being like, oh, but his left arm still isn't at his right arm's level, and his left hip internally rotates a lot more than his right hip. And you could get stuck in that rabbit hole forever versus trying to make the athlete amazing in what he can do.
Yeah. Yeah, training him to his own characteristics. I think that's the key. And that's where I stand when it comes to like addressing weakness versus maximizing potential is like find their strengths, play into it, and then find weaknesses within their strength. Develop the weaknesses within their strength that will make their strength even stronger. You know what I'm saying by that?
Yeah.
Like in the example here is like if I have a guy who's super elastic and springy and super but like super skinny, I'm not gonna shift majority of his training to lifting weights so that he can get bigger and address that weakness. I'm gonna feed him what he wants to make him great. And then we can still get those get those other inputs to where he's like really lacking, but I'm not gonna change the composition of his, natural ability, his natural makeup.
Right. And that goes down to a big thing that we talked about with Coach Holler on here was the idea of feeding the cats so
Yeah.
that they remain motivated. Because
Yeah.
think about how boring it is. Like if you only did Goda, and now granted, there's some people that are super disciplined, but let's say you only did Goda to where all you're caring about is the way your foot is and how balanced you are between both sides. We're not going to be, the athlete wouldn't be able to push to that 100% if he has to truly be thinking about his biomechanics. So then when we give him the ability to get to that 100%, we're feeding the cat. It does give the athlete a certain type of confidence and a certain type of fun, a certain level of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, this training is really fun. Freaking, bro, jump training, like agility drills, explosive, like lifting, like power focused lifting, med ball throws, like jump squats, like this stuff is very fun. All right, so let's go ahead and cap it off here with just a quote, and then we can give our opinions on the quote. Because this one is pretty deep, bro, and it makes you think. It really makes you think and makes you it just man, it makes you assess what you're doing in life. So, if one agrees that each individual possesses a finite capacity for achievement in any realm, if for no other reason than the brevity of human life, then one must also agree that failure to achieve what is achievable in the context of that individual's aptitude and interests is a personal failure. That's deep.
I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps hearing that, especially that last part.
It's crazy. It's true though, bro. Like it's true, and it makes me think, man. It makes me think because like there everyone wants to tell you that, oh, you can do whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, like life is yours to take. And it's like not really, bro. There's a
Not
finite
really.
capacity for achievement, and it's in the context of your individual aptitude and interest.
Right, because look, so I used to
Like let's
coach
look at
kids
like just
swimming.
yeah, my bad, go ahead. I
Yeah,
was just gonna say, like, if you look at like Tom Brady or like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, like these guys are not what's the word that everyone says, rocket scientists or
mhm.
engineers. No, in the context of their aptitude and interest, then they achieved what is achievable. You see what I mean? There's a finite capacity. Like you can't do it all. You can't be the best NBA player to ever live and a rocket scientist and build, buildings and, feed like and run charity and like do all this stuff. Like, no, there's a finite capacity. And if you don't achieve what is achievable in the context of your, interest, it is a personal failure, according to the quote.
Yeah, and I think a big thing too that I like, so when I was coaching kids in swimming, a big thing that I had to remind all the parents was just because I got to a certain level doesn't mean that your kid will get to that level. And look, I for a lot of the reason that this quote hit me so hard was I kind of I like after not making it to the Olympics, it broke me. It truly broke me because I knew like I was there. I was there. And an injury forced me to not be able to get there. And so I knew where my personal capacity was, and then injury made it so that mentally I didn't know if I could get there again. And that was something that messed with me for many years, and now obviously I'm on different things, I'm on different timing, I have a different understanding of what life is. But in those moments, in that time when I was in that training to be that specific kind of person, there was nothing more in the world that mattered. And I think that when you do get to that point where nothing else matters except for what you're doing, it's a very powerful state, but it's also a state that it can break you if you don't achieve what you believe you're capable of.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely, especially like injury. Like injury is where like people get real broke.
And you know what? I hate to be that person because I do believe that a lot of injury isn't necessarily preventable. But when it came to my injury, if I had a little bit more understanding of the things that I know today and this type of training, my injury had no excuse.
Yeah.
The day before I got injured, I was benching 295. I had no reason to be doing that. So while we can get into the argument of is it possible to prevent injury? I think to a certain extent, yes, because a swimmer has no reason to be tearing ligaments. And that was caused by obviously, I wasn't necessarily doing athletic training per se because I was doing a bodybuilding style of training. So, granted, I wasn't helping myself out, But I do believe that the way you train can lead to injury.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
truth be told, like I think that
Yeah. So, yeah, so after that quote, then another one that I have, the last thing we'll say here, it's another quote that I think pairs well with that quote, and it's the say you know decided what it is that's within your interests to achieve. The question you must ask yourself is, are you willing to strive towards achieving the mindset of an individual whose job presents far more extreme levels of chaos, unpredictability, and danger than your own, knowing that you will attain the potential to accomplish results that were previously unimaginable? It's deep.
yeah, I mean shit. You can't get to the level until you get to the mindset.
And then within that mindset, you have to understand that the job totally changes.
Yeah.
The job totally changes. Like, I mean, look at like take fighting for an example. Like if I was to, or anyone was to decide that they wanted to pursue fighting as a career, I mean, this quote really applies in that sense with chaos, unpredictability, danger. Like it's real nice being a whatever sales manager or whatever you are, making a good amount of money and a safe, comfortable living. But you know within your finite capacity for achievement that fighting is your thing. It's like, well, then you have to mentally accept that the requirements of your new job present far more extreme levels. And but to accomplish those results, it would be that's just what it takes. What was
Yeah.
previously unimaginable is now the reality.
And that's the truth. I mean, shit, like it depends on what you want to do, obviously. But there's a lot of people that don't understand that concept of getting to one, getting to a level, and two, understanding what it takes to maintain that within the mind.
Yeah, that's the hardest. That's the
And
hard
I,
part,
I
bro.
think we end it there. That was
Yeah.
that was a great podcast, brother. You are
Yeah, that
one
was
hell of a genius. I will tell you that.
there was a lot of good stuff in there. Hope you guys got a lot of value from it. You could definitely rewind and watch it. If anyone wants the notes, leave a comment or send Andrew or I a DM, and we'll send you all those notes so you can have it yourself and structure
Yeah.
some training programs. Hey, we got some training programs that are going to be dropping soon, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, another great episode. Peace out, guys.
Peace out.